people think motivation is the key to everything. They think if they just felt more inspired, more driven, more fired up, they would finally start the business, get in shape, write the book, fix their life. They scroll through videos, listen to powerful speeches, save quotes, and for a moment, they feel unstoppable. And then, a few hours later, it's gone. Here's the harsh truth about motivation nobody tells you. Motivation is unreliable. It's emotional, it's temporary. And if you build your life around waiting for it, you will always be waiting. Motivation feels powerful because it's intense. It gives you a rush of energy. It creates clarity and urgency. But intensity is not the same as consistency. And consistency is what actually changes your life. The problem is that we've been taught to chase the feeling instead of building the system. We think successful people are constantly motivated. We imagine they wake up every day excited, disciplined, ready to conquer the world. But what actually separates them isn't permanent motivation. It's structure, it's habits, it's standards, it's doing the work even when they don't feel like it. Motivation is an emotion, discipline is a decision, and emotions fluctuate. Some days you'll wake up feeling focused and energized. Other days you'll feel tired, distracted, or doubtful. If your productivity depends on how you feel, your results will rise and fall with your mood. It's not a strategy, that's emotional gambling. The harsh truth is that you won't feel motivated most of the time, especially not at the beginning, especially not when the task is hard, boring, or uncertain. Nobody talks about how unglamorous progress really is. Building muscle, it's repetitive. Building a business, it's uncertain and stressful. Learning a skill, it's frustrating and humbling. There are long stretches where nothing exciting happens. No applause, no visible reward, just effort. And that's exactly where most people quit. They interpret the absence of motivation as a sign. They think, maybe this isn't for me, or if I were truly passionate, this would feel easier. But passion doesn't remove difficulty. It just makes you more willing to tolerate it. The truth is, action creates motivation far more often than motivation creates action. Most people have it backwards. They wait to feel ready. They wait to feel confident. They wait to feel inspired. But readiness is usually the result of starting, not the prerequisite. When you begin, even in a small way, something shifts. Progress generates momentum. Momentum builds belief. Belief fuels further action. And somewhere in that cycle, motivation appears. But now it's a byproduct, not the engine. Another harsh truth: motivation is often highest at the beginning and lowest when it matters most. At the start of a new goal, everything feels exciting. You imagine the transformation. You picture the future version of yourself. You tell everyone what you're going to do. But after a few weeks, reality sets in. The results are slower than expected. The effort is heavier than anticipated. Doubt creeps in, and the emotional high fades. This is the critical moment, because this is where identity is formed. When you continue without motivation, you are no longer acting based on emotion. You are acting based on who you've decided to be. And that shift from mood-driven action to identity-driven action changes everything. Instead of asking, do I feel like doing this? You ask, is this what someone like me does? Someone who is disciplined, trains even when they're tired. Someone who is building a business, works even when it's inconvenient. Someone who values growth, studies even when it's boring. The behavior reinforces the identity. The identity reinforces the behavior. That loop is far more powerful than any motivational speech. There's also something uncomfortable we need to face. Sometimes we use the lack of motivation as an excuse to avoid discomfort. Saying I'm not motivated sounds better than saying I'm scared, or this is hard, or I might fail. Motivation becomes a socially acceptable cover for fear. But growth requires friction. It requires stepping into uncertainty, and your brain is wired to resist uncertainty because it interprets it as risk. So when you feel unmotivated, it might not be laziness. It might be your brain trying to protect you from discomfort. Understanding this changes how you respond. Instead of waiting for a better feeling, you acknowledge the resistance and move anyway. Not recklessly, not obsessively, but deliberately. You shrink the task. You lower the barrier. You commit to 5 minutes instead of an hour. You focus on showing up, not performing perfectly. And here's another truth. Consistency is more about reducing friction than increasing intensity. You don't need to be more hyped. You need to make the right actions easier to start. Lay out your gym clothes the night before. Open the document before you feel ready to write. Remove distractions before you rely on willpower. Willpower is finite. Environment is powerful. The people who seem endlessly motivated often just have fewer decisions to make. Their routines carry them when their emotions don't. One more thing nobody tells you: motivation feels good, but it doesn't build self-trust. Keeping promises to yourself does. Every time you say you'll do something and don't, you weaken your internal credibility. Every time you follow through, especially when you don't feel like it, you strengthen it. Self-trust is quiet, it's not flashy, but it's powerful. When you trust yourself, you don't need constant motivation. You don't need to hype yourself up. You know that if you say you're going to train, study, build, or create, you will. That confidence is earned, not felt. And here's the final harsh truth. If you only act when you feel motivated, you will always be average. Because average behavior is emotion-based. Extraordinary results come from boring, repeated, disciplined action over long periods of time. They come from days that feel normal, sometimes even dull, but completed anyway. Motivation can start the journey. It can spark the decision. It can help you take the first step, but it cannot carry you. If you want real progress, you have to build systems that function on low motivation days. You have to accept that discomfort is part of the process. You have to act based on identity, not emotion. Stop asking, how do I stay motivated? Start asking, how do I make this inevitable? How do you design your environment so the right choice is easier than the wrong one? How do you lower the activation energy to begin? How do you become the type of person who shows up regardless of mood? When you shift your focus from chasing motivation to building discipline, everything stabilizes. You stop riding emotional highs and crashing on emotional lows. You stop waiting for perfect timing. You stop negotiating with yourself. And ironically, when you stop depending on motivation, you experience it more often. Because progress feels good, momentum feels good, keeping promises to yourself feels good. But those feelings come after action. So the next time you don't feel motivated, don't panic. Don't interpret it as failure. Don't assume something is wrong with you. Assume it's normal. Then move anyway, not because you're inspired, not because it's easy, but because that's who you're becoming. If this helped you, consider subscribing.